Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest Dice Hosers Episode 5, Season 3 podcast. This one we call Interview with Herr Alessio, as we're going to be talking with Alessio Cavatore on the Armies of Germany book. We'll get to that a bit later. I'm joined with the usual gang. I was trying to think of different things to call us, but I'm trying to think, how do I say it without calling us all things that will get us blocked from Spotify and YouTube? A lovely bunch
I thought you
of
just
gentlemen.
old man forgot our names.
He's into war games.
I don't know
He's
where I am. What am I doing? So welcome. On this show, we're going to be talking about, because it's been a while since there's been the holidays and everything since the last episode. We're going to be talking about getting an update on our road to Adepticon, which is just a couple of months away. As I said, our interview with Alessio on the Armies of Germany book and upcoming events that we have in 2025. So with much of ado, I will hand it over to Derek.
Yay, me! So, Road to Adepticon. There's been a bit of a wrench in my plan, but nothing that affects anything other than me and my partner. By partner being my doubles partner. How are your guys' plans going? Craig, Matt, how's your plans going for, you're doing Silver Bayonet, Bolt Action doubles, obviously, and Saga doubles. How's your painting?
Yeah. Hold on a minute. What do you mean there's a hiccup with your partner?
Oh, I'll get into that when it's my turn. It's not nothing matters.
Okay.
And he said his doubles partner, so it can't be that interesting.
Yeah, right.
Pat,
I still love you if they don't.
Yes. So Silver Bayonet. So we signed up for Silver Bayonet, Saga doubles, and Bolt Action doubles. I'm with Matt for both of those doubles events. I have finished my Silver Bayonet French force. So that's ready to go. I would love to be able to do a little display board for it. I'm hoping, but we'll see how time allows. And then I've finished the first part of my doubles part of the bolt action stuff. I've just got to, I'm waiting on the Veterans box set, which I'm going to use for my Pioneers, which will have to be painted by the end of February because I'm going to that doubles tournament in Toronto. So I need to get those Veterans done. And I haven't touched my Saga yet. They're going to be my March project.
You guys haven't stopped on that.
Haven't what?
Stop playing Saga yet?
No.
No, we're still. We've taken a break just because of bolt action, but we still play.
Yeah.
We just, three of us actually just bought the Age of Chivalry book, which is all the European armies in the medieval time.
I haven't opened that up yet just because I know I'll go down a rabbit hole and not paint my stuff for the Escalation League that we're working on.
I know what my next Saga army is going to be, and it's going to be from that book.
British.
No, actually.
I was going to be surprised with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was thinking not doing the English, by the way. There was no British at that time.
Sorry.
No English. No, I'm not doing English.
They all become English in the end.
Wow. Yeah. You gotta be Scottish then. Cool kids.
I'm not doing Scottish. I'm not that drunk.
Question regarding your Silver Bayonet. And this is just a tweak and poking the bear. You said you wanted to do a little display board. Do they have the Dave Gordy rule for display boards?
Yeah. I think you're only allowed to have it on a 12 by 12 inch display and not a 6 by 4 or 8 by 4.
To be fair, it is only 8 models.
It would be hilarious if I took an 8 by 4 table down for my Silver Bayonet display board. That would be awesome.
Just hide the models in the forest in the middle.
That's right. Yeah.
Sean, have you decided all the things that you're going to go see?
I did. I've signed up for in addition to bolt action doubles. Day one, I picked 2 Napoleonics games that I'd never heard of or seen before that are being done there. One is a different rule set using and different ranges. You can use any range for it. It looks really interesting. It's called Victory is Ours, Waterloo. And the other is something called ESR Napoleonics. I hope I'm not getting these backwards. And that's the one where you actually play on a map, and it's more logistics. It's more at the general level than it is at the colonel or below level. So that looks like it'll be a lot of fun. I'll try those. I've signed up for a painting course or seminar on color theory. It's just it's not even bring your brushes and paint a model. It's just he discusses color theory and we ask him questions. So it seems interesting. I'm on the waiting list for Victory at Sea on Sundays. On Sunday, I also tossed in a couple BattleTech grinders just to fill in the empty spaces. I signed up for the Leviathan Shakedown Cruise. It's a new game coming up from Catalyst. And I didn't get into any Shatterpoint. I couldn't fit any Shatterpoint, which really bummed me out. And anything else. There's just not enough days. There's not enough hours in the day to get everything in there.
Oh, we also signed up for Bolt Action Korea on the Sunday, I think.
Yeah, the demo.
But that's also dependent if we're going to a museum or not in Chicago. So
Yeah.
we will find out. We should be able to ask him next week, right?
Yeah.
And to everybody who's
Is
watching,
John
I'm
running
really
the Bolt Action Korea? Or do we
Probably.
know?
Probably.
That'd be cool.
Yep.
Yeah. It's his baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in for Bolt Action doubles, Saga doubles. I'm on the wait list for Silver Bayonet, and me and about 400 other people were just stuck in limbo, and they still don't know what went wrong. On my one application with one email address, luckily I've got another email address that I could sign up with that one. There's so many comments about Adepticon should they should move away from the vendor who provides the online service because it keeps crashing. But what I was chatting to the guy from Adepticon, what they should do is they should have registration on one day. So you buy your registration, you get your code, whatever, and then do the event registration a week later, in my opinion. As opposed to it all at once, because that just drops the servers. They can't handle that load.
That's interesting, yeah.
I gave them that idea, whether they use it, don't use it, whatever. We'll see. So, yeah.
So this was what did that mean? So you couldn't get your bayonet ticket.
Yeah, I didn't get the bayonet ticket. Luckily, Derek and Sean were still available and online to get the doubles tickets, because my application just got locked and stopped. So it never triggered the final step, which gives you the code and your name for the events.
Because Sean's your Bolt Action double.
Sean's my Bolt Action and Derek's my Saga.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah. So, Derek, going back to your original question, so my Bolt Action is painted, my Silver Bayonet in hopes of getting in is painted, and now it's the elephants and the Indians left to do.
Nice. I want to apologize to our listeners. I don't know what's going on with my feed, but we've got beautiful pictures of Matt and Evan and Sean. I managed to overlay a new Sean, and Matt and Evan's feed are not picking up, so I apologize. They are here. You can hear them. They just, and they're not sitting stone still. It's just something is wrong with the feed, and I'm not sure what happened. And I don't want to stop recording, so I'm just going to let you guys all know that. For myself, I have yet. I think I made a list. I got to show these guys because I know absolutely nothing about Silver Bayonet. But I got
before you go down to distracting us with the Silver Bayonet list, what's the hiccup?
Well, I'm getting there.
Okay, sorry.
Do you not tell stories? You got to pace it. You got to bring it all in. And I
Looks
just
like
lost
Sean's
Sean's frozen. Yeah, he's doing a great imitation of what everybody else looks like on the screen. So I've made a list. I've got a good background story for Silver Bayonet. I'm going to be Russians that have traipsed across the Bering Sea, come down Alaska, and did the reverse of the. Who was it that went the other way? The two explorers. The Americans will know who I'm talking about because they're famous
Lewis and
Americans.
Clark?
Thank you. So they did they did the original trek. It's just they're not getting credit for it because they're Russian, and they did it in reverse, so it doesn't count. But I'm not sure if the list is good because I've never played the game, really don't have a grasp of the rules, so I keep saying I'm going to send it to you guys. So maybe I'll get around to doing that.
You're asking the wrong guys.
Yeah,
You're
right.
Matt and I have played one game, and Craig watched
One thing.
and dealt cards.
I'll have to reach out to Ash. Maybe he can help me. Ash, if you're listening, I doubt it. So the hiccup
And
is
Evan and I played one game, but we had to restart it and try again because we messed up the first time.
Nice.
Big
Well,
time.
that's usually how it goes. Asterisks on everything.
Big time.
The hiccup is I had my bolt action German army because I'm playing with Pat. We were playing Germans. I had it completely painted and finished. Believe it or not, it is 100% done. You guys saw it before I based it, but I based it. Sorry, I shouldn't say it's 100% done. It's 98% done because I haven't done the snow effects on the shoulders and the edges of the jackets and the boots. And I played with the finish, and I think I'm going to bring the finish again. So I got in the league, I'm going to be playing finish, so I've got some more finish that I want to paint. I got some cosmolets that I've made that I have to paint. So I'm basically I brought a Finnish army to Adepticon a couple of years ago, but because of the change from version 1 to version 2, and the fact that I was a complete reckless Finnish player with 3 Capricalchi squads and a 1200 list that were full, I'm going to have to paint some more. Plus, I have to finish my Indians for Saga, plus the Silver Bayonet that I haven't even started collecting models for. So it'll be interesting. So that's the hiccup. Told Pat, I think I want to do.
That there was something wrong with Pat.
No, not at all. Well, no, but there might be now. Pat might be like, what the hell? Because he just printed me 3 autocannons to go with the German force that I now no longer need. And I paid for him to post it from Oshawa to me because it was easier for him to send it in the mail than it was for me to drive out there or him to drive across. So,
Got it. All right.
yeah.
Well, you've got 7.5 weeks because today, 8 weeks time, we're going to be there.
Right?
8 weeks.
8 weeks. That'll be no problem. It's a slow time of year for me, so I can get a lot of painting done at work.
As long as you don't spill paint in my car when we're driving down, that's it. That's all.
Well, the car will be driving. You can help me paint. How's that? Here, hold my paint. So that looks like that's our road to Adepticon. It's going pretty smoothly for everybody. We're going to cut right now because we're going to go into our interview with Alessio, I believe. Craig?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So we'll jump off to the interview and then we'll come back right afterwards.
All right. We'll be right back.
Okay, thank you. We are here with Alessio, who we've managed to convince. Obviously, our last interview wasn't that terrible, but Alessio's come back to join us on the Dice Hoses podcast. Thanks for joining us, Alessio.
It was definitely not terrible, and thank you for having me again.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you. So we'll dive right on in. So we've got you back for the release of the Armies of Germany book. And we had you on, of course, for the 3rd edition launch of Bolt Action. Before we jump into that, I just had a couple of questions about the 3rd edition Bolt Action, and then go from there. The first one was, now that 3rd edition is out, what's the kind of feedback you've received from people, the community, Warlord Games in general? What are you hearing?
All right. So in terms of for more games, they are really happy, and the sales have been spectacular. Are being spectacular, so everybody's really happy here. They seem to like me. And so very good success commercially. In terms of feedback from the community, as always, you find all sorts of feedback from oh, it's fantastic to oh my god, it's terrible. Of course you do. It's the internet. But I have to say that I was a bit terrified of how is the community going to take this edition and stuff, because there was some. This is definitely the first time since the start of Bolt Action, so 2010, where actually the changes we made were far more substantial than in the passage between first and second edition. Reason being that, of course, first to second is really 1.5 because we didn't change the army books. The army books needed to remain valid, so you cannot really change that much. But this time the decision was to go full, kind of fresh start, and therefore you can make more changes, and therefore you're more nervous about the changes you made, kind of going, let's hope we don't break Bolt Action. More radical changes, and I was afraid of the reaction, but I have to say, I got so many of the kind of feedback that you really want, which is, when I go to events, or because I don't tend to look at the internet too much for mental health reasons, but when you go to events and meet people, or tournaments even, and consistently, a lot of people have said, I heard some of the changes. Before the thing came out, I wasn't really keen. I thought, why this, why that, blah blah blah. But then I played it. I played, felt the experience, and actually, it's better. I prefer this way, and that was something that felt almost scripted. A lot of people have told me exactly this thing, which is lovely to hear. It is obviously lovely to hear when because whenever people give you impressions and feedback on, I heard this change, I heard about this change, blah blah, in isolation, is very different from I tried the game, because that's what I always tell people. I played first, have a go with the whole thing, because we tested it and we think it's better. Have a go, and of course, not everybody will agree. Some people will prefer first edition, second edition. Of course, that's always the case, and it's fine. But overwhelmingly, a lot of feedback seemed to be good. They like it, which was a massive feeling of relief, and kind of like, oh wow, yes, didn't kill Bolt Action, yay!
Yeah, no, that's great. I find, though, we live in a time, and this is not a shot across the bows of the community itself, but society in general, where we overanalyze things before we've even done it, right? Yeah. So, and you can look at movie trailers and stuff, and people critique the movie trailer before the movie's even out, and it's or the book or whatever, and it's just read it. If you don't like it, don't like it, right? It's just give it a go. But I find it's funny when everything's in theory and until you actually play it.
The funniest ones is our feedback on other people's feedback. It's like, oh, this is terrible because of X, Y, and Z. It's like, oh, where did you hear that the rule exists? It's not there, but so what? Oh, I read it on a forum that this rule has been added and it's terrible. It's like, it hasn't. No, it's like third party feedback. You gotta go, no. I think you'll find that that's not happened. Somebody must have thought it was going to happen.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to start throwing out things like that. So one thing, just wondering, was there any specific rule or anything that came back or changed that you heard that you kind of were really proud of, that worked better than you expected, or you were just
there's two things that actually I was more nervous about, and hearing that those went well was the thing. So I was nervous about adding the cover sex, because I had quite a lot of resistance from some parties on that when we were playtesting, and I understand that obviously a cover replace. The reason for that was to remove math from the shooting phase, to make it less. Oh, I'm actually, because even playing at tournaments at high level, you do make mistakes with those many modifiers. It's kind of heavy, and you make a mistake, and then 2 turns later you realize like, I forgot the small team modifier. My officer should be still alive. So you have that kind of things, which I didn't like, and I saw it happening even to very good players, and also it basically you have to do more math, which slows down the process, makes it heavier on the brain, and so I replaced math by adding a roll, which obviously you think, well, the worries that will slow down the game. There's two worries. One, it will slow down the game, and two is more random than a modifier in a way, because the modifier is more reliable. The spreads. If you're an analytical player, but yeah, I have more control over what I do with. Well, the dice roll obviously is more chaotic, literally. So that was the mechanic that I was worried about. But actually, in playtesting, we found that the game actually sped up instead of slowing down, even with an extra roll, because there is so much more straightforward to just find out what you need to hit. You remove that bit of thinking and you add a roll. Sometimes, when there is a cover. So overall, we felt it was faster or just the same and not slower, and people seem to have more fun because the stories when I rolled this and then I rolled that and nobody died, or and they all died, stuff like that. There's more drama in a way. I can see that's not for everybody. So yeah, that was the one that I was more nervous about, and happy that the majority of people seem to go, yeah, no, actually I tried it. I didn't like it in principle. I tried it. It works. So that was one. The other one that actually wasn't so much from me, but it was from World of Games, was the new platoon structure for picking an army, which that was definitely from the top, as in they wanted to change or restructure the way armies were picked, make it more historical, basically. Give it more of a feel of historical, because you can always argue, well, it is an abstract, it is a slightly less abstract thing than what we had before, than the reinforced platoon, but still is not, not a real order of battle, because you have to do a system that works for every army out there. So you cannot do that, right? Because different armies will organize their military in different ways. But yeah, so that I was again a bit nervous about, because it's about gives more freedom to players, and obviously I'm always afraid of what people can do with their freedom. And in tournament play, that has definitely had a bit of an impact on. Oh my God, you can do what? Bring how many of those? So yeah, I think the tournament play has been counterbalanced by the scenarios and the way they work. So if people stick to the way the scenarios are split and the way you select how to play, then that is a great equalizer. As in, you have a massively powerful gun line thing with lots of multi-launchers and mortars and things like that. But then if you're all the wrong scenario where you have to move and the enemy springs up everywhere around you, you kind of go, that army is not going to do, but it's not going to do well. So it balances it out. Those two things, I think, the things I were most nervous about, and I'm now happy the way things are turning out.
Yeah. Great. Derek or Evan, was there any thoughts on what Alessio was saying there about those rules? I mean, I actually really like the cover save.
I think it's great. It needed that sort of reset of not being sort of so some items being so powerful. For me, the biggest one was the sniper, and like sort of debuffing that and bringing it back a bit.
Making the sniper do what they should be doing, which is take out officers, not I'll shoot that guy and suddenly the machine gun explodes. You're gonna go, nah. No, another guy can pick up the machine gun. Yeah, indeed.
For me, it was understanding that it's kind of counterintuitive. Like you were saying, like you added a roll, everybody was thinking it's going to add time, and then because you took all this time away from the math and the discussion about the cover and everything else, you're just like, do the hits, your cover. Like the rolls are much more set, so it's much more fast. Like once you have it in your head that you either have cover, you have soft, you have hard, you either have nothing, you have 5, you have 4. Like, so it does speed that.
Yeah, and there's speaking of cover, there's a rule. There's a subtle nuance in a rule that not everybody has picked up on. Which is funny. I realize that some people haven't probably read the cover bit properly. It used to be that if you are not sure whether a unit is in cover or not, because sometimes it's obvious, like you were saying, and it's obvious, I have a 5 save, I have a 4 save. Sometimes there's always the edge cases where you kind of go, oh, is this 4 guys in cover out of 10 or 5 guys in cover out of 10, or is this tank 100%, 50%? So those edge cases is still where the discussions could be. And the previous solution to that was, well, roll a dice. 4 plus you're in cover, 1, 2, 3 you're not in cover. However, when you're saving your very expensive tank, then you go from nothing to a 4-up save. It's a big thing. So people get really stuck on it and go, oh my god, no, he's in cover, no, he's not. And there's a bit in the rules now that say, if you're not sure, it doesn't say roll a dice for it, which the bit that people are missing. It says reduce the save by 1. So the idea is like, oh, is this tank really 100%? Does he get a 4 plus save? Oh, I'm not sure if he should get a 4 plus save. The choice is not 4 or nothing. The choice is, or the solution could be, okay, 5.
Yeah.
It's so much easier that everybody can go with it. I mean, I'm sure there are some players, I suppose if you then roll a 4, you make go, oh, damn. But that's such an easier way to make those things go away. And it seems that most people would just go, yeah, it should be a 5-up save, let's do 6, or it should be a 4 save, let's do 5, because I'm not really sure. Yeah, that's subtle, very subtle, but it seems to work quite well.
Yeah, that's excellent.
I just last thing about the cover set. The thing I love about it is that it's a simple math in the game that you can use as part of it, because you're thinking, okay, if it's soft cover, I've got 33% chance. It's at 50%, and so I think it also allows you to be risky, to manage your risk with certain plays that you're doing, because you're going. Before, your tank would never really come out of cover anywhere because you didn't want it. Whereas now you're like, well, no, I've got a 50-50, right? There's not a 50, but I've got 50% chance that no matter what you do, I can nullify it. So I think that but it's a quick calculation that you can do that you probably before would stand there for about 5 minutes trying to mull over the math. Whereas now you're like, okay, no, it's this. Okay, move on.
Yeah, I think, it depends what type of player you are. In the previous versions, basically it was all about trying to go from the 6 to be hit to the 7s to be hit. So in a way that was more controllable, because you kind of, when you're thinking, what you were saying about, if I do this, then my chances of dying will be this.
Yeah.
It was the choice of pushing it, can I get it to the 7 to hit, because that's a big jump, right? But it was controllable because you knew that if you did X, Y, and Z, then you would have gone to 7 plus. But now, even now, I can do this and get a save. However, obviously the dice may still betray you. It's a bit more, chaotic, I guess, or random in a way. So of course, it's still random even before because it's still dice are involved. But I think that statistically, it's a little more random. But easier, so much easier.
Yeah, that's great. Moving on to, so first of all, that's awesome. It's glad to hear, and we're seeing here in Canada definitely bolt action 3rd edition take off hugely, and in our local community, local store actually, it's gone crazy. They just Torchlight Games, they took stock of it just before Christmas. And we're starting an escalation league, and there's like about 16 new players. And we're like, where'd these guys come from?
Yeah.
It's the new players, isn't it? That's the awesome part. There's a lot of new players, because when I was writing, part of the feedback, part of the brief was indeed to make it more accessible. And indeed, that was like, well, okay, let's math. Both more accessible for newbies and also for, old geezers like me that actually I was finding the math a bit heavy.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think getting it more accessible to the community while actually the stats are the same vaguely in terms of what the maths are. It's just that you don't do the math; the dice does the math. So it made it more accessible. And I see we're finding a lot of new people, which is great.
That's fun. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's been great. Moving on to the Armies of books. So my first question is: I'm assuming you're writing all the books?
No, as in the books are. The armies all from the previous edition, so we take all of those units, and then we add I'll say not 100%, but 90% of all the other units that we added through the years, through the various campaign books, theater books. It's not every single unit. Some of them are possibly deemed a bit too extreme and bracket.
Yeah.
So, no armored trains or anything like that. But,
Was on our list of questions.
Biggest point there. Spoilers, no armored trains. But yeah, so again, it's not going to be 100%, but a lot. The majority of the units that appeared in other books, just say for example, Armies of Germany, is all the books, all the units from the Armies of Germany, plus all the other, most of the other units that came from other supplements. Plus, we look again at the army special rules and try to address issues when there were, or maybe sometimes add a new one, take away not one that doesn't work too well. So we try to refresh the army special rules, but not too much. Again, we don't want to completely reinvent things. So and then the big job for me, because other people have helped with bringing, like Beth has brought in a lot of he did the collecting of all those lists, those units, and propose some rules and make some changes. So my role is what is kind of always been is that of the editor. I get if you want the raw manuscript and just go, okay, maybe don't want this rule, or how about we change this to that? Try to get to make it match if you want, the style and the spirit of the new edition in this case, and obviously the point values, because I reviewed the way we do point values, so I have to go through all the units and redo the point values for everything. That's a big job. And so basically I edit every single book to fix basically rules, style, point values, and then the other thing we did is which is new, completely new. We've never done that with Bolt Action. There's a section. Well, every unit has a new element in it in the entry that says early, mid, late.
Yeah.
Or early, mid, or mid. Whether it basically gives you an indication, a guideline of where it was mostly used. And we understand that there will be exceptions. I'm sure there will be some very, very old-fashioned armored car, in sectors where they're effectively out of use, but one can turn up, in desperate situation. So it is to be taken with a pinch of salt, but we tried as much as possible to go, this was mostly used in this period. It's easier to say when it wasn't, if it's something that was developed late in the war, you kind of go, well, if you play early mid-war, these didn't exist, so obviously that's easier. While something that is old gear, old material may still actually be used in late war, but not a lot. How many anti-tank rifles will they blah blah, etc. So yeah, adding that to every unit and adding a guide at the end of the book saying this is early war, these are the units. You get it twice. You get both in the entry, it tells you the period, but also there's a guide at the end that tells you early war, these are your units. Mid-war, these are your units, and late war, these are your units. The idea would be to open a thing that we never did, which again, trying to give a historical feel, is that you could have an event, a tournament, where you go early war, which I think is very interesting in terms of what it does. And okay, the best I get is a light anti-tank gun. Okay, and there's a sharp B on the other side. It's like, what am I gonna do to it? This kind of thing. And it's interesting. It changes the game in a very nice way. Of course, the problem is that this starts with Armies of Germany. The other army lists don't have that because they're in the rulebook. So obviously, you go, how do you make that kind of event? You have to wait for all the books to come out, which is not long, to be fair. It's a year.
Yeah.
The schedule is insane, and we're trying. I just finished working on the Japanese books, which is the last of the main 5. That's
next year's.
Yeah. Well, they go into testing, then they go into Osprey layout. Yeah, but they want the manuscript now. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
By all means, it's not finished. But the finished ones are the Armies of Germany, which we have a book, and the Armies of the US. I mean, if you want to pause here, I can go and get the books, show them on screen. I didn't think of that.
Oh,
Sam. That?
Yeah.
Give me a minute. A minute.
All right.
Well, while we're waiting for Alessio to come back, I mean, that sounds awesome. fact, Alessio's just about finished Japanese book.
Derek wants a copy of the manuscript. Look at that! Look at that face.
I just
Well, we
don't.
paused.
There's only one.
I'm gonna edit this out.
I know. I assume so. There's only one other book that could get you more excited.
Well,
If
yeah.
you pitches up with a K-47.
But
just-
it's more because I hate not knowing. I know there's answers out there, but I'm not allowed to know them. But it's not even that I'm not allowed to know them. I just need to know the answers. Like, okay, so if this is what this is like, what's that going to be like?
Do we want to start alternating asking questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Evan, if you want to ask the next question.
Which one are we doing? I was thinking 7.
We could jump to 7 if you want.
There we go.
Oh,
And we're
Hello.
back.
we're back and restart. Okay, can I speak again? Yes.
You bet.
Yeah.
Live. Okay, cool. So so that you probably have seen. This is coming out now, I think.
Dead first.
That's the first one, and quite a good thing to see it in the flesh, and it's a bit faster than the previous version. It's got sample armies as well, lots of illustration, lots of stuff there. Yep. And of course, big reveal
Oh.
in the flesh.
Okay.
Yes.
If you could just, Alessio, if you could just
Can you slowly
that very
flip through that
slow.
one?
I will
Click
I will
it fast. We'll slow it down.
I noticed you had no problem doing with the Armies of Germany book, but the American one.
Yes, I asked if I could actually do that. They were like, just the cover, only just the cover, just reveal the cover. Like, yeah, and these are
Unless it's a prop. It's just like a piece of polystyrene with a cover on it.
is actually the real thing.
Yeah.
Smells of
Oh,
new book just arrived. Literally.
smells
Hot off
of-
the press.
Yeah.
Victory.
I got the because I got the Warlord app, so I got the German book on the Warlord app because that's come out now.
Yeah.
But which is great for convenience, but I'm still getting the book because you just got to have the book, right? You've just got to have it on your shelf and stuff. So
Yeah, no, I mean, like a quote, a military quote. Clearly, I like military or Hollywood quote. It's like, I like the smell of new book in the morning.
yeah,
It smells like victory. Also, I'm very keen about the armies of the United States because that's the army I play. It's the one I tend to use in competition or in general. The one I collect.
Yeah.
So for me, because again, for me is Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan. That's both action for me, right? So
when you guys do the books, how do you, just sort of for our listeners, just sort of get sort of your thoughts around it? How do you go about your research? Obviously, you mentioned that they're all the info units from the previous books. Do you go through a period of like, actually this thing there was only 1 or 2 of them, therefore we're going to drop it, or there's something we've forgotten that you over? Obviously, it's quite hard to forget stuff from World War II because it's so well documented. But do you bring together sort of like a pool of minds of people from your research perspective?
normally these books are written originally, at least when they were written in the first instance with first edition. What the process was that I appointed looked for a person that was basically knowledgeable about that army or collected in other war games, because obviously before Bolt Action existed. So somebody who was, I knew had a big passion for that army and they knew their history and knew their unit, and for example. I was thinking we had Warwick Kinraid for Armies of Germany, who wrote, he wrote both systems, game systems, and he did very much specialized in German, in the German Army World War II. I brought Massimo Toriani about the Americans. I brought Jake Thornton on the British, and Andy Chambers on the Soviets as well. So I was looking for somebody to be the lead writer, and I would brief them, work with them, and obviously we have obviously here in Warlord there's a lot of that knowledge. We have people like John Stallard himself is a big a big nerd about tanks and things like this. He really likes his stuff and he knows a lot of that. And again, luckily in Nottingham, I could talk to Paul Sawyer, I could talk to the Perry twins, who are my friends, and obviously they would go, "Oh no, I think you'll find the epaulette on that guy is really wrong. The number of rivets on that tank is clearly wrong." Yeah, I had a lot of people that knew what they're doing, and then other people that also could check their things. And to be honest, my knowledge of World War II was definitely not nowhere near what it is now after 2010, so 14 years, 15 years effectively of working on bolt action. So now I am a bit like that too. When I see something, I go, "Oh, well, that's wrong." The turrets there should be. So I do that and surprise myself because again, I have now absorbed so much information over the years, going through all these books and checking all the guns. I was like, "Is that an NMG or an LMG?" And you still keep discovering stuff. I mean, we had a big conversation about the recently Soviet tanks and their machine guns. We're like, are they belt fed or were they clip fed? You're like, who knows the answer to this? So yeah, you look it up because it is whether should it be an MMG depends on blah blah. So there's a big philosophical debate on what is what. So yeah, lots of research from the person that originally collected those books. Now that we're doing a new edition of those books, is again Beth did a lot of research and bringing in staff and did their own take, made her own take on some of these units and some of the Army special rules as well. And again, we check things, we change things. I literally, before you guys started this, I was looking at SAS Jeeps. I was like, what do the models actually have? The one Warlord makes? What guns do they have? Then I was checking historical photograph, and kind of going, right, okay, is that a K gun? Is that a Lewis gun? It's a bit blurry, and making sure that the options both represent what you can see of this story. Because again, this is a very edge case. It's not like these are customized things that have been made. Apparently, there is one that found these 50 cal machine guns. They must all have 50 cal machine guns, of course, because there's a proof of one. There's one example, one photograph of yes, machine guns everywhere. But yeah, it's a bit of an extreme case, but it was literally the part of the thing I'm doing is checking, because I have some feedback from the community where he goes, "Oh, I cannot make this SAS Jeep from the kit you sell because of the options are blah blah blah." So I'm going, right, what are the options? Don't make something that is sci-fi, but make something that is at least vaguely justifiable with history, and give them. So it's a very interesting thing to do, and I learned a lot. I keep learning a lot.
You also find it's ruined every Hollywood movie. You look at the tanks like that's not that tank.
Yes, there's some really, really bad ones. Yes. Yeah, there's some hilarious ones. I mean, yes. There's particular. I think my favorite from that point of view is a movie called Raid on Rommel, which I honestly went and asked John Stallard. It's like, is this supposed to be Raid on Rommel, or is it Raid on Rommel? Like carry on. Is this supposed to be parody, or is it actually not parody? I was like, I suspect it's not supposed to be parody. It's Raid on Rommel. It's not Raid on Rommel. Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
So,
Derek?
So if you're not going to be involved in each and every book, are you going to have like a final say to stop what happened in version 1 where the Germany book came out, but by the time the Italian book came out, or there's a huge creep of power where nobody wants to play Germany anymore?
No, I mean, I think you misunderstood. No, I am involved. I will do that edit on every book. I am doing that job on every book. So
that's awesome.
That job of collating and bringing and proposing your rules, etc., has been done by Beth. I do the editing. My role here, if you want, in terms of rules, I'm definitely the chief editor for bolt action, because I've done the rule book, And every army book, I will go through all the things, recalculate all the points, check all the rules, and so you could also say that any terrible mistakes in there are all my fault, but or surely somebody else did that.
We've got the point, man, guys.
No, I will be doing that for every single book until Warlock told me to stop. But at the moment, they don't seem to want me to stop, so they're happy with what they're getting. So, editing all the books. As I said, I just finished the Japanese book after doing German, American, British, the Soviet, and the Japanese. So now we'll take a breather and do some other bits like errata, some articles, support stuff, etc. And then I think it's back to, all about the other nations, Italy, France, blah, blah, blah. No, it's going to be, luckily, sadly, I like to think, luckily, I enjoy doing this, and, it's a job. But it's cool. And yes, it's going to be...
And it's nice knowing that there's one person trying to keep this all going the right direction without, I don't want to say favoritism, but somebody, the most recent book came out and I put this rule in it, so this army is going to be the new best in the meta.
Obviously, we try not to do that. Sometimes those things happen. Sometimes there's a unit that you because of playtesting doesn't spot it, and you think, actually, this one is a bit too good. That always happens. But I can certainly tell you, it's not by design.
Yeah, of course.
This is a historical quote. Napoleon used to say that you never into malice what can be explained with incompetence.
Yes.
Because basically it's like, the enemy's making a terrible mistake. Surely they don't want to. They don't mean to send a cavalry without infantry support. No, they are. They start to think, they must have a clever plan. No. No. They don't. They're just making a mistake.
Wasn't it also Napoleon who said never interrupt an enemy while they're making a mistake?
Same thing. Yeah.
So last question on the book before we go to some of the rules in the German book. So I think one of the things that quite a few people within the community were kind of expecting, and is understandable, I think, where it's arrived at. But there was, I think, many people that were hoping that there would become some kind of theaters that would be within the books. Here's how you can do a North Africa book. Now, you've got the freedom within the book to make your own stuff, but with the campaign books and such, you were able to go, right, here's a DAC list, or here's a Soviet-Ukrainian list, kind of a thing. Was there the intent to not do that and to replace it with the early, mid, late? And is there plans, if you're allowed to talk about them, for theatres to come down the road?
Absolutely. As in, we did discuss this at length. We tried many different things, and whether to put... because if you go specific on theatres and stuff, then you have a book which is, like 600 pages.
I'd buy that.
Well, but
not very good
some
for
people won't. But the idea is, we went for this early, mid, late, and of course the theaters guidance, the theater platoons, etc., still exist. Those books that you have in your collections, Guinea campaign, New Guinea, a book you don't have to burn it. You can still go, right, this is the platoon, this is the limit. Can I do this with just the rules in the Armies of, and so you can still do a third edition version of that platoon. Before Warlord Games get to that, it will take some time, of course. But it's kind of like we're giving you the tools in the Armies of, the main tools. The specifics will come through articles, and I would guess other theater books, etc., or campaign books. How to structure and organize that is still in discussion at the moment, so I don't know the answer to that. We're still talking about how to do that, how to approach that. My guess would be probably more theater, third edition theater books, campaign books. It depends how ultimately they decide to slice that particular thing, because you can slice it in so many different ways, right? In terms of how bold you want to go, how big you want to go. So My guess would be more Army-Theater books in the future, but first we have to do the Armies of, obviously in terms of urgency, and let people use the existing ones.
Yeah.
Changing, yeah, right. So what units were available in the Bougainville campaign will still be the same. Is that we cannot change that? So, you can still do that. Yeah, that's the plan as it stands at the moment.
Okay. Cool.
As far as I know, I must always ask because obviously I'm a mere consultant.
Right. Gets you in and out of trouble, that line.
Yeah. I think we're going to jump down to questions around the German book now, Craig.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I hope I can answer them.
Okay.
Oh, there is one other big thing. Actually, we could start the conversation on the German book by actually that we forgot one important thing. When we're talking about the Army special rules, one thing we are trying to do with all books is to have one of the Army special rules, in this case, for the Fatherland rule, or defend the Fatherland, that rule, which is it's not really a rule per se. It just says you can attach one of these three labels, keywords, to units. So you can, in the case of the Germans, is Fallschirmjäger, Gebirgsjäger, or SS, Waffen SS.
Yeah.
And so basically you can attach that thing for a point cost normally per man, and that will turn the unit into one of those words, so from the Fallschirmjäger. And that means, okay, they always must be veterans, they all get the Stabon, so there's a list of things they get with that label. And that obviously is to allow people to stick that label on machine gun teams, mortar teams, anti-tank teams. So you can make the army all being made, all of your officers and everything, all with that label, all with those rules, as opposed to, kind of going, I can have Fallschirmjäger unit, squad, but not a Fallschirmjäger machine gun, so I have to take just a machine gun, which is, but we added that bit, and we try to do that consistently through the books. For example, the Americans will have Marines, Rangers, and paratroopers, kind of thing. So is that kind of thing, and every army will try to. It's not necessarily three. Three is a ballpark, guys. Some armies may have less, some armies may have more. But is that
fits the flavor of the army in general?
Yeah. I can see the research and theming you could do around making a specific themed force would be immense.
Yeah, and again, sometimes historically, particularly for armies that are less well known, it's sometimes challenging because you kind of go, well, yeah, we knew that they had, I don't know, bazooka teams in all these arms. Like, what about flamethrowers? Rangers have their own flamethrowers. Like, search it up. Okay. Did they have? Because that goes into the artillery section as well. You kind of go, right. Did they have their own artillery? Was it Rangers artillery a thing, or would they use army artillery and they would just? And that varies so much for all type of these subtypes. What about the Gebirgsjägers? Well, I'm sure they had mountain guns, but up to, did they have a light anti-tank gun? So you have to try to find all this information, which makes it very challenging. I'm sure at some point we'll get it wrong, and people go, I think you'll find that actually they had a Pak 47 as well. Like, we tried our best, and hopefully we'll do a good job with that. But there's a lot of research there as well, and sometimes the sources are not entirely clear, to be honest. Particularly, like Japanese veteran. Did the SNLF had this particular? I was like, okay, all the fonts are in Japanese. Who can read Japanese? Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So it is. Some armies are easier than others from that point of view.
I know what you mean, because being originally from South Africa, I was reading it like last year sometime or the year before. South Africa has only ever did, in World War II, they only ever did one amphibious landing, and that was the invasion of Madagascar. I was like, they invaded Madagascar? It's like, I didn't know. Okay, let's see what they've got. Can't find anything. Okay, move along. Next topic.
Yeah, it is difficult, yeah. Sometimes it is very difficult.
So just jumping down to the Armies of Germany book. We'd like to pick your brains a bit around some of the rules, and one of them is the Panzer Ace rule, and what was sort of the driving rationale behind that, and the thoughts around it.
Yeah, it came from. We decided that Tiger Fear was too good and never satisfactory as a rule. So we decided, okay, let's take out that rule. But obviously, you want Germans to feel, there's a lot of war history, war lore, legends, around people like Wittmann. There is obviously, the scariest tanks, the bigger, tank aces, etc. So it's part of the whole stereotype of the war, which is what the Army Special Rules tend to work off. They work off, the stereotypical things about certain armies in World War II. So we wanted something tanky there. To tank ace seemed to be a game that seems to go with some of the accounts and history, and so that was it. And we then decided to had to decide how good we wanted to be. Was it needed to be good against all enemy or just against vehicles? And we tried to flavor it more of the ace would be proud to take on vehicles. They would record how many vehicles they have destroyed, not, oh, right, I killed that infantry squad and machine gun that the anti-tank gun over there. It's like we went more in specifically against vehicles. Again, it could have been sliced in many different ways. That's the decision we made. We'll see. Have you got an impression or reactions on this already?
No, I haven't gotten that far in getting anything in my force up to Panzer Ace sort of level. I've only just started a German army. I've mainly played French, so it's still very new for me.
I've been doing veteran tanks, actually running veteran tanks, which I'm finding really interesting, actually, because although they're a little pricey, the fact that they can ignore a lot of
hindrances
that are you're just ignoring them. You just don't count. You're just like, okay, I don't care about your anti-tank rifle teams that you might have 5 of them. I don't get. You can't hurt me. So
a veteran tank with a very high armor value, if you get an 11, it's really difficult to do anything about. On the other hand, it will be half of your army in one vehicle. So, yeah. But I mean, we made them cheaper. This edition has both the big guns, big anti-tank guns, and big tanks. Cheaper, considerably cheaper than the previous edition, because we wanted them to be a bit more part of the game, because they were literally too expensive. People were like, I'm not going to make the points back and stuff. So we wanted to make these more accessible. Not the howitzers, because the howitzers have been always very well used by everybody. So the howitzers stayed at the same level, or even went up in points, while the anti-tank guns got cheaper and better. So
yeah, no, I plan on using in my SS. I'm going to have 2 veteran tanks, and one of them will be the Panzer Ace, so which would be nice because it puts that little bit of extra fear in your opponent.
It's like to recreate tank fear without having a rule for tank fear, but it's like fear the tank.
Yeah, no, that's good. Cool. Derek?
So, keeping on with this, I'm going to jump a couple questions because my curiosity is killing me, and I'm not 100% sure how to word the other question properly. So, you've mentioned him several times, the Gebirg Jager. I probably butchered that name too. On their entry, they have a skill called Pathfinder. I have not. It's on page 32 if you're looking for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Fieldcraft, you mean. You read it again, it says Fieldcraft.
Okay, that's what we figured it was supposed to mean, but there was no reference to it. And I think this comes in, and I'm going to give you an out here. I think this comes in with the fact that you were given the entries out of like 17 books and then have to go through it. And I'm sure if you're reading it in your mind, you're like, oh, I'm going to do this or that. And then...
Actually, worse than that is... basically, as well as a gazillion units at the same time, because also I had to go through for the rule book. Even before we started with the army books, I had to condense all those things into this 5 lists. Which, if you look at them, that's so detailed. There's so much, add these 5 points and you get an M3, add 3 points and this other thing, and it becomes an M13-A.
Yeah.
The work on that was absolutely mind-boggling. The amount of information that had to be condensed in those lists is, I don't think anybody can really appreciate what amount of work and stress on the brain that was. It's just, it's scary. It was a lot of work. And yes, things have gone through, and yes, there is an errata for Armies of Germany. We will come out soon. We're just finishing it now, including things like that. And there's a few more. There's a vehicle that has the amphibious rule that clearly shouldn't have the amphibious rule. This is a copy and paste from the previous vehicle. Stuff like that has got through, and yes, we'll errata it and then change the extra entrant. But sometimes it's things like that rule was called Pathfinder for a while in development. And then at the last minute we went, actually Pathfinder is a type of unit that existed, so it's a bit strange, if the Pathfinders in the future will have the Pathfinder rule. They will have their Pathfinders with the Pathfinder rule. So we just went, no, we need a more generic name that goes with everybody, depending on, regardless of what they are. So let's change that to Fieldcraft. And obviously, whenever you make a change, you have to try and make sure that it's been implemented everywhere, and sometimes you miss it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that at some point, they're trying hard, but because whenever you repeat information, like there's information somewhere and then there's a summary of that information, then you make a change in the main point and forget to make it in the summary. And I'm sure you, as a seasoned wargamer, you've seen it many times where
never in my life.
Never happened. Doesn't match the rule. Again, what I dread is definitely the fact that we decided to put the early, mid, late war in every entry. Every entry has its own thing, and then there's a guide which says these are the early war. I think at some point it would be, this one says that this particular thing is early war in the entry, but it's actually in the mid, or it says early mid, but it's only in the, so you forgot to put it, with so much information, big, huge amounts of names, particularly with the German, or ESCE, this is the 250-1 early mid, so I'm sure we'll get some wrong. I mean, we'll try not to, but yeah, it's a little that. And yes, Army generally has a few of those, indeed. Howlers that go through. Every book does.
I wasn't lying. I wouldn't be lying if I didn't say I was really hoping it was a special rule that got dropped because I'm the king of loving special rules. What do these guys have that nobody else has?
It just feels crap, I'm afraid. There's no special German extra field craft. Also, because if you start to give it to one unit, then you probably go, what about these other guys from this other army? Oh, the Alpini, clearly, blah, blah, blah. All of the escalation of rules.
So under the Defend the Fatherland, under the Waffen SS, they have mixed quality, which for people who don't have the book yet, basically means that if that unit fails an order test, they have to roll a d6, and on a 1 or a 2, they go down and take d3 pins. On a 3 to a 4, they go down as normal, and 5 to and a 6, they run in or advance towards the nearest enemy.
That's for inexperience?
That is for inexperienced, yes, for inexperienced Waffen SS. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, that was an interesting one because we had to go. Those labels we stick, normally give you stick this label, these are the rules. Gebirgsjäger are fieldcraft, paratroopers, Paratroopers are stubborn. While with the SS we had this thing where in the previous version it was you had a choice of whether to be fanatics or not. And so you have, fanatic SS and not fanatic SS, which in game terms is like, I'm looking at the models, I should know what the model is, not, does he have, is this guy a fanatic SS or not a fanatic SS? So we just went, no, the label is a rule, it's a special rule, bang, and we went, yes, fanatic, because A makes them different, makes them more. So let's not go into the political thing of this thing, but it was a special new label different from the normal, because otherwise you have a veteran guy and an SS is not but he's a veteran, so he's the same as the other guy. So I think it's clearer. Nope, they have a special rule, that's the special rule, that's the label. But indeed, there was then early war, all, elite corps, veteran, blah, blah, blah. End of the war, pretty much anything goes, right? Oh, yeah, come in. So you're recruiting without selection, etc. So clearly the quality level of those troops goes down, and to the point of, we went into the experience, drafted into this corps, blah, blah, and make it more characterful. again, I am very aware that choices like that on special rules, people could argue forever one way or the other, and World War II is still in living memory, so again, there are some sensitivities there that you have to be aware of, etc. So sometimes it's a bit tricky.
So that rule was more about a historical representation of the troop quality rather than we don't want to see, don't want to see, but is there possibly a strength of an army of inexperienced SS fanatics running around? Like it was more historical kind of management of that.
Definitely, that was to represent the fact, yeah, the mixed quality in late war, particularly.
Yeah.
But I mean, the balance is always a tricky one. You have to try to play test as much as possible. Like, I'm particularly right now, as I said, I just finished Japanese, so we have to be very careful with that because an entire army made of fanatics is, with a fanatic rule, is a thing to balance. I mean, close combat now is less important. So obviously that has gone a certain way to make the horde army not as powerful as it used to be, but still one has to be careful.
Yeah. No.
Oh, sorry. Another thing about just to try put another little disclaimer on the rules, the typos like that one is that unfortunately at Warlord Games we write the manuscript and then we don't lay out the books here ourselves. We send them to Osprey. Osprey do the layout and then send us back the PDFs, the laid out versions for us to check. So imagine, pages and pages and pages of all those numbers, all those rules, etc. That somebody else will have to copy out of the Word document, insert into an InDesign document, and create all those things graphically. Yeah. And again, somebody that maybe is not a gamer or historically knowledgeable, so is just operator of as a layout graphic artist that not all know a lot about World War II or indeed bolt action. But there is an element of huge human error in the copying and pasting of these things into that file. Then it's sent back to us, and there's another chance for us to introduce more human error because you check all of these things. You spend an afternoon going, this unit is these many points, this many 15 points, 30 points, and these many points. It has the following special rules. The equipment is this. The options are this. Checking your manuscript against the laid out version, and you spot mistakes. As you can see, you don't spot all of the mistakes because it's a long process. Making a book, particularly with two companies involved like that, is a complex thing. And with that much information, to be honest, one of the editors that edited the bolt action rulebook congratulated us on how few mistakes he found on the book. It's like, oh, thank you. I only found 257 typos in your book. That's really incredible for 600,000 words manuscript. It's like, oh, all right, yay. These things are complex to make. They're not as easy as one might think.
So we're just a couple of more questions before we wrap up. But so another one was the officer units. So you can now have for the German officer units up to about 4 accompanying, so a unit of 5. Where did that jump come from? What was the rationale for that?
Order of battle of units in things like Fallschirmjägers and stuff. So the fact that how they related with how the different army branches had in terms of how their command teams were structured. Again, it's a bit of an abstraction. It kind of tries to give you the flexibility to adapt that to the information you can find on history, like the paratroopers used to have the officer ingrained with the squad and that. So, they always probably not. But so we and indeed with the rules that are presented, you can just have the officer on his own, or you can have an officer with 1, 2 assistants, like in the normal list. Or you can go a bit bigger, representing these squads that effectively are literally as an infantry squad with an officer embedded, right? It is not literally by command squad, or maybe it is in some branches, in some things it is a larger command squad, or it could just represent a guy, an officer that paratroops behind the line and goes, I'm with you now, watch my back when I read this map, kind of thing. So it's for that. It's to try to so people can try to represent the orders of battle more precisely, or not, but The one big change there was that we abandoned the here's a squad and give them whatever guns you want. To actually, you have to pay for. If you give them pistols, they're cheaper than in the unit there. If you give them assault rifles, then they're expensive. So because again, if you have bigger units, that little whatever. I don't care if you have a submachine gun or a gun. With a bigger team, you're gonna go. That's a lot of points. So you start to have a bigger impact. So that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, I agree, and I think to your point about the abstract, because with World War II, I mean, it's so researched and military history and all these things, but you're wrestling with what a formation looked like on paper at full strength, and then actually what it was like in different stages of the war, and especially with Germans, where they would then go on and create camp groups and stuff like that, where it was just whatever you could cobble together. So to try and, I suppose the point for the book is to build that flexibility for you, allow you to do that. I mean, I was with somebody was asking me the other day, so I could build an army that has SS, Fallschirmjäger, and Gerbersjäger in it. And I was like, well, yeah, technically you can, So, but I said, you also, to be honest, when it came to Berlin, in the end, there was a whole schmozzle of stuff, right? Like it was just whatever. Or you could even look at fillets, right? There was SS, Luftwaffe, here. They were all on the run, escaping and trying to get away, or Market Garden, where they were just taking whatever they could and put them together. So I think the fact that you can build a list that's flexible and whatever you want it to be is a good start.
Yeah, take the approach that if you try to rule for this thing, A, you're gonna get it wrong at some point, and B, it will become so complex. It becomes so difficult and obscure. I've seen a lot of games where actually you can go, I cannot pick an army. How does this work? But leave that level of freedom where you can mix indeed things or not. Means that the people that care will make sure that their army is historically sensible and makes sense. So that this represents this detachment. Is the 15th Pennsylvania Territorial Army. Blah, blah. Or people will just go, no, this is a game. I want to have a competitive force. So I'll pick that. I'll cherry pick that thing. I'll have that one. Thank you very much. Don't care about any of this. I'm not forced to. And again, if people don't want to meet that, I suppose it's down to whoever organizes events to go, right, this event is historical, or this event is, nope, open, do whatever you like, we don't care. Because again, you will have games where it is that open, where you have your British troops fighting against British troops. The opponent is the British army. So like, what? You gotta go, well, that's a training exercise, clearly. You can try to suspend your disbelief and go, right, it's a game. Or go, no, historical. So in our event, we'll have historically themed armies, and we'll make sure that we'll always match Axis versus Allies. But even then, you have to go, right, well, what if I find some Japanese against some French? Early war French, late war Japanese. Can they play? Oh, well, no. So, freedom to allow people to do whatever they like. And that's not just in terms of army selection. I mean, there are some abstraction. I'll give you an example, a very good example of abstraction. Bazooka teams in the American army. You can go, well, yeah, bazookas were assigned to squads as well as, a dedicated team, or instead of, it depends on which team. Is it Marines, is it Army, is it Rangers? But you can go, we fought along about giving bazookas as a choice to normal infantry teams. But again, sometimes you have to make choices in game terms. We went, ooh, that's a bit much. So we went, now okay, the team is still a team, it's represented as the bazooka team. But if you think, no, okay, these guys represent the 2 guys from the squad that have a bazooka, then I could field my squad with 10 guys and the bazooka team. In game terms, is a squad and a bazooka team. In my mind's eye, what I imagine is it was a team of squad of 12 with a bazooka, and the bazooka is just not sticking with the other guys because again he's trying to sneak around and take a good shot instead of. But there is that freedom, there is that choice. What we did do is there's some formations in the armored infantry and stuff, where actually having those units allowed you to pick more bazooka teams because they had more available. So it tries to represent that, but not ingraining a weapon such like a bazooka into an infantry squad was a bit scary in terms of gameplay. So we had to go, a little abstract solution here.
Yeah. Any last questions, guys, for Alessio?
Did you get in everything you wanted in the let's just take Armies of Germany book, for example. Did everything make it in that you thought should make it in, or was there something that was...
Well, I mean, what goes into the book is we try to respect people's existing armies. We try to look at the... so you're talking about in terms of models or units or in terms of rules?
Either, all of the above.
Okay.
D,
Yeah,
option D.
In terms of models, units, yes, I mean, there's the reason for including stuff is look at the range of models the war games say. So everything that is on sale should be in the book, right? And even then, we managed to miss a few, which is like, oh, we didn't include that unit. Oops. Because again, there are so many subtle variants on all those vehicles, and stuff. You're gonna go, what about the, that's Caduceus 233-2? What about that? Oh, how many did they make in the war? Oh, they made 2 and the prototype. Right. Okay, well, it should be in the book. So you can end up with more of those in bolt action than actually ever existed in reality, which is funny. It can happen on some units. Again, how many obscure units do you include? Do you have models for them? How cool they are could be also another thing. So the choice is vast. Specifically, I'm not a German collector of things, so I think Army of Germany, I definitely didn't have a particular anything that I really wanted to go in and didn't go. In terms of rules, well, army special rules are, for me, the most interesting thing whenever you do an army book, because it could be incredibly good fun, but you don't want to be offensive, and I always endlessly joke about the Italian army and the rules that I could add in, and has been done to death. But yeah, so I think maybe I would have liked Keep Tiger Fear, because I think that's a characterful thing of the, oh my god, that's a tiger. Well, actually, no, it's just a Panzer IV with a long barrel gun. But, oh, tiger. So that I felt a bit letting go of Tiger Fear. But on the other hand, we tried quite a few times, and it was always a bit. We couldn't figure out a way to do it elegantly simple and not overpowered, etc. So eventually we went, let's go more abstract. Let's make people fear tanks as opposed to overrule Tiger Fear. So the Panzer VIII thing, that. And it's a very interesting choice. Making those choices for armies is always very
And then a follow-up question to that: are you finding, with the popularity of version 3, that Warlord are now like, okay, we don't make this vehicle or this troop type, therefore we should make it because it's going to be interesting or good?
Yes, of course. The more demand there is, the more the company tries to fulfill the demand. I mean, some of the decisions, the Armies of Great Britain was a big one, because again, we tried to go for all the Commonwealth things into one book, and it was like, no, this book is insane. It's too big. So we actually decided to make the Armies of Great Britain is going to be about British troops, while there will be a Commonwealth book at some point down the line, which has all the Empire things, including the Canadians. Which again, a lot of the Canadian stuff. There is some Canadian stuff in this Armies of Great Britain, because in terms of particularly vehicles, there's more similarity, obviously, in terms of what it was, even though there are some indeed unique Canadian versions of vehicles. But yeah, so deciding what to include, and whether war games, of course, they're trying as much as possible to increase the roster to match the demand.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick game balance question? Put you on the spot again. When comparing Japan, the Soviets, and Germany with their experimental sideline, like basically getting at, how do you go about balancing things that are almost identical but a little different? And in this case, the Goliath, Dog Mines, Suicide, anti-tank teams. They all pretty much do the same thing, but they've got a vast different point spread. And I was wondering, like, game design, how does that, I guess, walk us down the math of that if you can, or a quick description of what goes through your mind
Well,
when
okay.
setting
First
those
of all,
points.
it's not just things that are that, like a dog mine versus a Goliath, because there are similarities, but there are lots of differences. But there are even things that are far more similar, or even the same vehicle or the same squad. And an author, the guy that wrote, I don't know, Armies of the Soviet Union, decided to represent those things in rules terms with a certain set of rules and stats.
Yeah.
And then, 10 years down the line, somebody does a supplement, Armies Theater, where they represent the same unit, and they go, oh, and the rules are different, but it's literally the same one. So not only on slightly similar things like a Goliath and a Dogmine, but even the very same unit can have different rules. But I mean, in some cases, we found that we did like remote armor car used in the Pacific. These are the stats, and we did it twice in 2 different books, and they are not the same. You can go, oh, probably at the time when that version came out and the author put it in the book, we didn't remember. I didn't remember that was already in another supplement or in another book. This M3 that has been done already. I was like, and these were the rules, because I should have gone, well, actually, we already have the rules for that. Now, somebody did it. We didn't spot it was the same vehicle, and they had different rules. So you kind of go, okay, now that we have to put them all in one book, you kind of go, oh, which version do we use? This version, or we create something in between? Because again, maybe it was the same vehicle, but maybe it was in a different sector, and in that particular sector, they decided to stick an anti-tank gun in the turret. You gotta go.
Yeah.
So the other guy that wrote the book about that vehicle didn't know about that other theater where they did this. They stuck a flamethrower on the turret, whatever. You're gonna go, so you have a different versions. So the answer to your question is, different people have done those rules, those units, and they represent it in a certain way. And when it comes to me, if it's the same vehicle, armor car is an easy thing to go, yep, unify it, condense, make it one thing. In something as different as that, sometimes the decision is like, no, they're different enough. One is a remote control thing with operators, one is an animal, maybe more random. But it's fine not to make them the same thing. It's a choice, and it depends. I mean, there's a lot of people working on the system with only one guy effectively trying to provide the consistency, which is me.
Yeah.
So some of it is unified, some of it is left different.
Cool. No, that's beyond me to make a game. I like playing them because I'm not creative enough like you to put numbers and stats of things. So try to figure it out.
It's a tough work, but it's fun. I enjoy it, and I still play Bolt Action as a enjoyable experience. It's kind of my war game that I play for fun as well, which is cool.
Excellent.
Cool. Well, thank you again, Alessio, for joining us. We're looking forward to the Armies of Germany book coming out. I'm definitely looking forward as well to the next one. Even though I don't play Americans, just to get my hands on it. So, but thank you very much again for coming on. It's great to see Bolt Action doing so well and what's coming down the pipeline, and it's pretty exciting. So, as you can tell by my British voice and approach, I'm very excited. And hopefully, I should calm down. That's right. And hopefully, we could get you back to talk about the American book in a few months.
And once again, show everybody that change isn't bad.
Yeah, exactly.
we fear change. It is the trait, human trait is we fear change, of course.
I think some of the worst part about the changes when games do it, and you understand why, like they let out this little piece, look, we're going to do this, and you're going to do this, but then everybody takes those 3 or 4 little changes and they compare them, but they're comparing them with the structure of the old. They don't even know what the new structure is going to be. So yeah, it's almost like game stores are shooting themselves in the foot by saying, look at the new shiny pretty, but that doesn't work with what we know, so burn,
Also, to be honest, the police is not gonna come and arrest you if you play Bolt Action with the 2nd edition or the 1st edition or your own rules.
Yeah, make your adjustments. Do with what you will.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll go back to our podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Okay, well, thanks very much there. You've had hopefully a great insight listening to our interview with Alessio. He's a great guy. He's always happy to talk and chat. We're hoping to get him back for the American book, which you saw the front cover of.
Couldn't get him to flip it open. No screenshots.
Yeah, we didn't get him to flip it open. It was like, do it slowly. We'll record it and then watch it back slowly. But no, he's a great guy. So there's some really good, interesting stuff in there. So say we'll get him back next time. With that, though,
I pooched it.
Hand over to Sean.
Before you do that, I pooched it, guys. We took a short break. I tried to fix the cameras, and I officially lost the 3 of them. So they are still here. You're just looking at black walls. I apologize. We want to get this out by Friday, so it drops at the same time as Armies of Germany. So I didn't want to spend any more time messing around. So please enjoy the 3 black holes that are below Craig and I, with the disembodied voices about to come out.
Yeah, actually, you'll probably see our YouTube video views will go up now.
Yeah. Now that there's only 2 amazing, good-looking guys to look at instead of 6.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Watching something totally different.
So, Sean, I'll hand this bit over to you. I was just wondering about the book. We've all had a chance to take a look at the book.
Yep, it's the first book we get. We're going to get 3 or 4 this year.
Mm-hmm.
But this will be the first one. It, like you said, comes out this weekend. There's been lots of content online. We've got our Alessio coming out, and a lot of the other good podcasts and what have you have been going through different sections. It's going to be so a lot of the tournaments for the first little while are probably not going to open up to it. Some will, but I imagine most are going to wait till there's more books out there. But it does come with some interesting list building options. You get a couple extra rules, and the biggest one that everybody's going to want to take, but you got to figure out how you're going to take it, is going to be that Panzer Ace, because of the requirement to take a veteran tank. Just fitting that is going to be tough. So,
and the limitations on which tanks you can take.
That's why it's important to play more than just competitive. So you'll be able to take a look at all these fun rules. Because I have a feeling it'll be fun just to say I've brought Whitmer and just here's Michael Whitmer right here. From pouring through the PDFs, what are everybody's favorite bits or units or options that they've seen there? Matt, have you got I know you spent some time with it. Have you got a favorite new unit this is opening up for you?
I wouldn't say favorites. I think we've been playing around with the squads and that, and how I build the squad, I think, has become my favorite. Like for Germans, I like having the 2 LMGs with 1 extra guy in there. So you got the 6 guys with 2 LMGs. It seems to be what I like so far. It might change.
There's only 1 unit that can do that, isn't there, Matt? I thought they took the double LMGs away from Fallschirmjäger or is it they just made it late?
Probably.
I thought there was a change. I can't remember now. I gotta look.
Well, with the book,
know for sure. Sorry?
I was going to say, with the book, you're picking the era now too, right?
Yeah.
Early, mid, or late. So those 2 LMGs may not be the same in all eras.
That's where I'm just double checking because I think so I've been building late war, or it's mid/late war Fallschirmjäger, and they can take up to 2 LMGs. I'm just trying to add the early war one in. I think it can only take 1.
Yeah, the extra range with all those shots, especially with the buzzsaw, means, especially for Germans. Even when you're not German, I take them with the Italians, with the Begliaris there, the Segliari. But there's other nations that get that too. And when you get a chance to take them, it's really good, especially if you don't have to take them vet. You have to take them vet with the Italians. But You can take a regular unit or even an inexperienced just to sit back with those machine guns. That's great. So it's good to see those options. You had them already in the normal in the core book, though. They weren't something new. In the Armies of book, they've now restricted when you can take them based on the eras. So there's a lot. There's a lot of new units there too. There's a lot of interesting units added. Evan, did you anything speak to you from the new book?
Unit wise, not so much, but I did go down a rabbit hole reading different ideas of forced deployment. Because I remember a while ago we were talking about the leader, as opposed to it being a lieutenant, being taking a captain. And what some guys have apparently been doing is you take a captain in a 250 half track, and then your rest of your force, your infantry, you give them each a 251 half track. So you put a squad per half track. And your first order dice you get, you do a snap 2, and all 5 vehicles move somewhere else. Because in your if it's one of those games where you've deployed against someone, you're not coming onto the table, but where you actually deploy, it can totally change where your force is on the table. I thought that was quite a clever idea. And I've been looking at Panzer IIs, because I love me some Panzer IIIs, and I've been thinking about the Panzer II with the autocannon after seeing Matt and Derek play autocannons against me.
Yeah, they listed as the Panzer II Lux. There's
Lux.
there's no other alternate versions of it, right? Just the Lux.
Yeah.
The Lux, yeah. So I need to get me 1 or 2 of those to try them out.
Yeah.
Little rinky-dinky tankette. I've stood next to one, and it came up to about my waist.
Did anyone see the list that won LVO?
No.
Was
That was
325. It was 325 3 or 4 commando squads, and a couple Cromwells, a couple autocannon Cromwells.
Yep.
So it was a low dice count, but it was veteran infantry with autocannons and then 3 25-pounders.
Interesting.
Yep.
It's not the kind of list that you would look at. It has to be a list for you. That list. But it just goes to show you there's going to be so many ways to play this game. So don't be afraid of the veteran infantry, and apparently don't be afraid of 3 25-pounders. They're dual purpose, of course, because you can direct fire them.
Yeah.
It's
Derek,
those AA guns,
the
those
Nepal
Cromwells.
Looker, what do you love about the the Armies of book?
Well, the negative is I don't know what I was hoping for the Panzer Ace, but what they gave us, I kind of like it, but I think there was other options, or maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a game designer, so I kind of disappointed with that, but I'm not entirely sure what I wanted it in. Sorry?
I was thinking reroll to hit would have been nice because it's a one shot on all those things, right?
Yeah, I just feel like it just missed the mark a little bit. It's good. It's still good, but it missed the mark.
Kind of means I don't think it's going to come up in that often in competitive, but we'll see.
I think it is good. It's just maybe we're comparing it to like the ace skills in Flames of War, where you had all these different things.
Yeah, there was different options. Yeah.
Yeah,
That might be
I do think it's good. Yeah, it would be nice to have that extra chance to hit.
Yeah.
But once you do hit, the +1 pen and the additional modifier when rolling on the damage tables.
And +1 is nothing.
Once you
to
get that
sneeze
hit,
at
you
in this
should be
game.
able to do something good.
Yeah, it's nothing to the +1 is nothing to sneeze at. But
yeah.
The thing I like the most is the how everything applies, or most of the rules apply to regular or veteran. You don't get your initiative training if you're inexperienced. You only get it if you're regular or veteran. You weren't trained, so you don't know how to do this. I like how they limited, because inexperience doesn't, like, it really has the limitations now. You're -1 to hit. You're cheaper, but when you're shooting, you've got the only modifier, and it's negative for when you're firing. You've got the lowest morale, so you take the pins and you're not going anywhere. And then you don't get your special rules, your country special rules, because you were just gathered up and put out there. So you didn't have the traditional training that your country was known for. So because they did that here, I'm really interested to see what they do with the other armies book. But I think that was my biggest thing, was your inexperienced troops that are just ramrodded down into the fight, have no freaking idea what they're doing at all levels. So I thought that was for me, that was my favorite part of the rules that they've put out. Yeah.
Yep, that'll be good. And you're right. So now this gives us a flavor of what we can expect coming out with the new books, and we'll see if they creep and get a little more in each one. But hopefully they're all going to stay fairly consistent in what they get, just with different
Because
colors.
you weren't there for the Alessio interview. He is got his hands in everything. So I think, like, he has to edit all the books going forward, or he's editing all the books going forward. So that should stop the Armies of Germany books from being the worst 2 books down. Like that power creep. Hopefully.
See. All right, good.
The Lux is the Recce Panzer II.
Yes.
The normal Panzer II was the cheaper option.
I think you should go with the Recce.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 points.
10 points, take the Recce.
And you get Recce and fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, fast is the big one, right?
Yeah. Because you are definitely getting out of line of sight. Boom, gone.
It doesn't have full direction, though, does it?
No.
Not close, no.
Okay, you don't want to roll off the table.
And I'm going to proxy one day to be the Flamingo, which is the weird one. That's the one where it's got one flamethrower covering like the front arc and the right, and another one facing the left and the rear and the left kind of thing. It's like a weird looking thing.
But the good news is you can only fire one at a time.
Yeah.
Well, someone's probably going to shoot it with an autocannon, and the thing's going to go up like a barrel of kerosene.
Yeah, I've reached the point where I feel like I always, whenever I'm in a game, I always find myself needing some sort of transportation. Starting to look at those transports, thinking maybe taking an extra one just in case, so I have something I can move around the table.
Well, they dropped the prices, so.
Yep. What do you think of that new book, Craig?
So I like it. I like the book. The thing that and I talk about this in our interview, that a little sad not to see some theatre lists in there, some options for that. I'm hoping that they're going to come in campaign books later at some point. It would be cool to see a kind of, here's a DAC theatre list. But I overall I like it because it's simple. They've driven to the simplicity of it, which I like. I like the idea you can have a 5-man squad for your HQ with the Germans. That makes it pretty sweet, especially if you're running around with veteran lists. That's another squad there. I actually quite like the Panzer Race rule, just because I like veteran tanks, and the idea of having a Panzer Race Panzer IV with an armor 9 sitting around. I like the idea that if I hit you, which is hopefully most of the time, I've actually more effective chance of penetrating. So I'm blowing you up once I do, right? So I quite like the idea of getting a more effective veteran tank. There's quite a few ideas. There's quite a few list building ideas I've got. I'd love to do inexperienced Hitler Youth Volkssturm list with lots of machine guns and Panzerfausts and inexperienced people who don't know what they're doing. I like the inexperienced Waffen SS with the mixed quality rule. So if they fail their order test, there's a chance they'll go down and take pins, and there's a chance they'll run right at you and charge you. So, and they're fanatics. So it's like, okay, these guys aren't going anywhere. So I like it all. I'm interested to see the books, but I like the fact that it's also going to be, and maybe this is just because I'm getting old. I'm a grumbly old gamer. I don't necessarily want to have to remember lots of complicated rules about what your lists and units can do.
Yeah.
This is something I can just flick through, read, and generally, which I've always liked about Bolt Action, but I think these army books add a topping of spice to the steak that is Bolt Action, and it doesn't overwhelm.
The nice thing is
very-
with that, you get lots of country. You don't have like a zillion countries with a zillion different rules. So
yeah.
Yeah.
The did you see the next book that's coming out?
The American book.
Not the Armies of book.
The companion.
Yeah, that looks like it'll have narrative.
Yeah, I'm going to get one. Yeah, I'll get one.
Mhm.
There's extra stuff in there.
Oh, they bring out all their campaign ideas in books like that. I think that's acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Because I think, like you were saying, like what do I like in it? I guess I kind of got hung up on the fact of before version 3 came out, I had plans to do a Battle of the Bulge themed list. So to see some things not in there, like the Panther that's disguised as the M10,
Yeah.
and some infiltration units and that, that's where I was kind of upset. But I did work on an article for our website that was going through this and trying to piece together units from this book. And I think everything is pretty much here, except for some of the unique special rules, like the enemy's uniforms, where you have to be within 12 inches to be able to recognize them and that. So yeah, I just kind of that was my fault. I got hung up on the things that weren't there when I should have been getting excited about what was there.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of good stuff in here.
And if you do build that list, there's nothing saying you can't make your Panthers look like M10s. They just don't have any special rules to say you can't.
Yeah.
You have to identify
I think it was Tabletop Tommies who were talking about building the Bradenburgers with American torsos and German weapons or something like that.
Yeah.
Doing some fun
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Excellent. Yep. So yeah, the new Armies book is going to gives us a taste of what's to come. We'll see. Each one will probably be cool. I think it's going to take a while because we're just seeing how version 3 plays now. So we're looking at it going, oh well, maybe there's some good ideas in there, but I think we've got a good solid couple years of learning that book as the other books are coming out to take it apart, put it back together, and have some fun with it.
It's also the biggest book of the lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so many vehicles and units.
We got a lot of toys.
Gotta love those mad scientists.
I know, right? Crazy Austrians.
Evan,
Cool.
upcoming events.
Cool. So this is late January, so here we go. So February the 23rd, we've got the Great Raid at the 3D shop in Oshawa, run by our friend Robert Sherwing.
He's coming to Adepticon with us.
Yes.
Yeah. March the 1st is the doubles at the Guild House in Toronto. That was announced today. We are all going because it's practice for Adepticon. 1,600 points per team, 20 order dice max. 29th of March, unfortunately, we'll be away for this. There's Testimonies in Hamilton. I've got an 1,100 point, 18 order dice limit tournament.
Nice.
Then April the 6th, there's Brawl in the Hall at the Army, Navy, Air Force Club in Kingston, which is a sober premium event. Some of us are going up for that.
Yeah, that's Dewey Cat running that.
Okay. Then
I bought his
on-
3D stuff.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
April the 26th at Torchlight here in Burlington. There's Bolt Action Sober event. Dice Hoses will be there. May the 24th and the 25th is the Canadian Tabletop Championship at Rideau Curling Centre in Ottawa. Paul Saunder is going to be running it. He's up from Kingston. And
Yeah,
then
hoping to. I can't go to that one because my daughter's birthday is on the 24th of May. I'm hoping to be able to go in 2 years when her birthday moves to the Monday, because each year it moves a day, right? So I'm hoping then in 2027 I'll be able to go.
she likes history, and I'm sure she wants a ticket for a 2-day tournament for her birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, I keep trying.
Yeah, you've got bad armies.
I think I'll be going to the one in May.
Oh, nice, awesome.
And then in June, we don't have the date exactly yet. There's
June 7th, maybe.
June the 7th. Okay. At the Game Chamber in London, there's a sober event.
Yes. This is the first one that the Game Chamber has run. Yes, the 7th of June. 2 days after my birthday.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to that one. Absolutely. Go show my beautiful face round about after my birthday.
I
Must
want to go
get
to
you
that
a
one too.
hash saying it's my birthday.
Yeah, that's right.
Pink
I could
tiara.
have done that for my 50th. I'll have to do that for my 60th.
It's my birthday. I'll get a free free reroll.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a Saturday. I'm going to try to go to that one anyways. London.
Well, the other one is a Sunday, though, isn't it? The Brawl in the Hall. I think that's a Sunday.
Oh, in
Up in
Kingston?
I think it was.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought
a
it
good one.
Yeah.
I wanted to go last year to that one. I think I'm gonna. Well, I am gonna go this year on a
Oh, April
go
6th.
the Recon
is-
Rumble format. So I'd like to try that.
What is that? 2
Yeah,
hour
I
drive
can't make that one.
to Kingston?
Oh, it's
Two-
just it's to Kingston. It's with stops. It's like 3 hours.
3 hours. Oh, that's a long day. I'll try to go. Still try to do it.
Yeah. Well, I did it last time. It was dead easy. It's actually a lot easier than it sounds.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Oh, well, those are the tournaments we know of. So, Matt, hobby
That's
plans for
okay.
the next few weeks?
Yeah, so I guess we'll start with Derek. What do you got planned for?
Working on the finish, because between that slow grow league, or the league that we're doing, the increments, we're doing 4, 6, 8, 1,000, 1,200, and then we're having a 1,250 tournament. So working on my finish. I really want to flesh that army out. There's lots of new. I went back and looked at the PDF. Then Tabletop Tummies put out a video, and Bo went over a video, and I just finished looking at the PDF, so I kind of looked at it with fresh eyes, and then looked at it with other people's attention on it. And there's a lot of things I want to try again, because they're not so one-sided anymore. Like, there's opportunities to do other things with them, so suddenly they've become a really interesting army to me. So my next little while is going to be fleshing that army out from just infantry to, like I said, a couple of Cosmolots. I'd like to get a KV1. I'd like to get a Sturmy Stug. I've downloaded 3D plans for those, so I plan on making those in the next little while and seeing what happens. Because who cares if you're unreliable when you're 10 plus and veteran?
And veteran, that's right.
Yeah, so if you can't pen me, you can't pin me. If you can't pin me, I don't take the unreliable double pin. So
We're going to hold you to that when your Stug does nothing. The whole
Stugs
game.
are 9+. I'm talking the KV1, which is...
Oh, the KV1, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when it does nothing the whole game apart from sit there.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but they seem like an army that doesn't really have many options. Like, you don't have a ton of tanks, you don't have a ton of different types of infantry. Yet at the same time, there's like so many different ways you can build that list.
Well, the way they've put the army entries in, they used to have the Capricoki, they used to have the Sissy, they used to have the continuation platoon. So there was like, if you wanted Panzerfaust, you had to take continuation. If you wanted the +1 to shoot with your rifles, which they still get, they took it away from the Americans, but they still get the +1 to shoot out of ambush. You took your Sissy. If you wanted to come in and be tough fighters and fanatics, you had to be your Capricoki. So what they've done is they've pretty much put the continuation squad and the Sissy together. So now you can have a Sissy platoon that has Masters of the Hunt, so they get +1 when they shoot out of ambush. They can also take Panzerfaust now. So they've kind of put those together. The Capricoki is pretty much still the same. They can come on turn 3. We've had a long, heated discussion about that. As gamey as I thought it was, and not right. If you read it, it does. On turn 3, you can come in basically anywhere on the board, either whatever left or right that you chose, or the entire back table edge. And because of the outflanking rules being in version 3, you can still come on your side. So that Capricoki, when it comes on in turn 3, can basically come on anywhere but one side of the board. So it's almost like I won't come on the left side is what you write down now, because if you write down right, it could be your deployment, it could be your opponent's deployment. So they've really kind of, by putting those all together, they've given you more options. So the infantry's more, I don't want to say more playable, because they were playable before, but they kind of have a little bit more they're a little bit more dynamic. The vehicles, they're, with the change to the rule of veteran don't take pins, suddenly the unreliable doesn't hurt as much on the heavier vehicles. So it suddenly, vehicles are an option now. The Sturmtiger isn't, or the Sturmy Stug, I think that's the Stug G, isn't unreliable, because the Finnish actually bought a bunch and they have their own, where all the Russian tanks are captured, so they're all considered unreliable because they didn't have the parts. But they've just got, they're a little bit more dynamic now because of the way that they made the entries in the PDF, and I, on first reading, completely missed it. Like I said, on second reading and then watching the podcast or listening to everybody else's podcast going over it, it was a little bit more eye-opening. The other thing is too, when they put the PDFs out, we didn't really know version 3, right? So you kind of read these things and were like, yeah, unreliable, get rid of this. You look at the Hungarians and the Bulgarians, even the Greek, looking at the Greeks again, they look like it could be interesting. Not super competitive, but super fun. Yeah. And potentially, competitive. So I think the minor nations everybody needs to kind of go back and take another look at them now that the version 3 rules are in our minds a little bit more in depth, so you can see the difference that those, and they're just placeholders too. So when the minor nation books come out and they actually take away the version 2 rules or tweak them for version 3, there's a lot of play there that they've left. So we'll see.
Hopefully they don't take away the ones that prevent them from being somewhat competitive, at least.
Yeah.
Like you said, that the pins, or the, what was it, the +1 that they took away from the Americans. Hopefully they get to keep that.
Well, it's only, it's coming out of ambush, so it's not like every advance that the Americans do, they get it. The Finnish can only do it out of ambush. So.
Right. Cool. How about Evan? What are you up to?
It's the Indians for Saga is the immediate pressing thing, and then planning the rest of my list for the Escalation League. And seeing, I've got the troops all assembled. I know what I want to do for the winter here, but the rest of the things, what else do I put in? Have to narrow it down from like 1,000 choices down to like 10. So,
well, we got 400 points this week. How far ahead have you got planned? Do you actually have like 600, 800 planned, or?
I did one where it was about 3,000 because I just put in everything I had in the army builder. And then I realized, well, hang on, this is actually too much.
Yes. I think Craig will call you out on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to decide which one do I take? What do I take? What do I put in?
Craig, what are you up to?
Basing the first part of our doubles list, the 25% of our doubles list. So half of my list, I'm basing. So I'm just figuring that out. I discovered some magnets that I've got, so I'm going to try out, see if they're strong enough for the basing. But
Right.
they're done, and then I'm just waiting on the veterans to arrive, which I'm hoping will arrive probably next week. And I can get
So you're not
those.
madly building them, getting them, rushing through them.
Yeah, so fortunately, I only have to paint, I think, one command squad and 2 5-man pioneer squads, if I remember. So it's
Sounds
only
about
about 11, 12 guys, so it won't be too bad. They are Waffen SS, so I have to do the camo. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing over the next. That's my focus for the next month.
right. Okay. And Sean's looks like he's hopefully finishing up Epic so he can get to something bigger, better.
That's right. What everybody can't see is me basing these Hail Caesar models. I painted the whole box except for the Italian allies. So I'm just basing them. I'm going to try playing them this weekend. For bolt action, I've got the German force that I'm doing in the Escalation League at Tista. Then built is also what we're taking to Adepticon. So I've got that force. I'm just working on a couple tanks now, which is going to bring it up to around to that 1200 mark. I've got the Americans. I've got about 600 or so painted now for the Torchlight Escalation League. I picked up a box of Italian motorcycles for my big Licchieri's there, Basaglieri, for my Italians. So I want to get those painted up so I can have them bombing around the table just for the fun of it. And also on the table is some Song of Ice and Fire Starks because I've wrapped up the Lannisters, so I've moved on to the Starks now.
Cool.
Nice.
Okay. So,
And you, man?
oh,
What
me,
do you-
yeah, right. Well, the typical 3 things that we're doing for Adepticon, and thankfully one of them overlaps with this Escalation League. The Fallschmäger doubles with Craig. Get that done, and try to at the same time work on Saga and Upper Canada for Silver Bayonet. And then after that, I'm hoping to do this Battle of the Bulge army that I've been working on for the article, but start building it physically because I've got the Earthsats, that's the M10 or the Panther that's disguised as an M10. Got that model from Warlord a long time ago and finally put it together. So after that, I don't know. That's far away. Gotta get the stuff done for Adepticon first.
Yeah, I just got to get. I just want to make sure I get my SS done. Well, they will have to be for the Escalation League, but I just want to get them done because I want to do the British book. So it updates my 8th army. So I just want to make sure that that's done.
And the British is what, the 3rd, the one after the Americans?
Yep.
Good.
Oh, and for those of you that heard, it's just the British.
Yes.
The Allies
There's
get
no
their
problem.
own book. Canadians,
Oh, we do?
Australians, South Africans, they're
Nice.
all going to be Commonwealth. There's going to be a Commonwealth book
Gonna be
and there's going to be a
Commonwealth book.
British book.
That means I'm going to make both armies then, because you seem to be making one for each book. So
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder what I'm going to
I'm looking at my
maybe I'll do
Canadian, the British unpainted sitting over there in the shelf, and I'm wondering whether I should change my force in the Escalation League or not.
I think I'll do an early war British force, something from the BEF.
Yeah. That would be a good one. Actually, I quite like early war stuff.
Yeah.
Really, when there's some weird, interesting stuff.
Because it's that transition,
Crappy
right?
tanks.
Everybody's trying to figure out where's warfare going to go from the World War One sitting in trenches.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're going to actually move around and
Yeah, I might actually do some kind of weird Operation Sea Lion British list.
nice.
That'd be
I was
weird.
considering that.
Dad's
really
army with those armored trucks running around with a cannon out front.
Well, they had.
That could be
I don't know if you saw it I don't know if you read the campaign. I know we've got to wrap this up, but I don't know if you saw, but in the Operation Sea Lion, so the British created a couple of prototypes, which was basically to be put at the top of beach hills that were above beaches, and it was like a wooden wheel, and they had rockets on, and it would roll down the hill and blow up into the Germans. And I was
Nice.
thinking, that sounds like a great idea.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Sean, Evan, and Craig, and Matt. I need 3 of you to grab a coin.
A coin.
A coin, please.
Hurry, money.
Designate
I
a
have a
head and a
coin.
tail, Sean.
Well, those two are that Adepticon coin won't work. How about a first special service coin?
I'll
Okay.
use a bug. Okay.
No,
And,
I just need 3 of you, so the last one to get one.
okay.
I've got a saga token.
Okay, as I need,
not a coin.
as long as you can flip it. So Matt,
Yeah, I
you got a
can flip
coin?
it.
Not a coin.
Okay, you
Well,
flip it.
okay.
You
So
use coin.
designate
Oh, what?
a heads and a tail.
Yeah.
Okay. VS is heads, blank is tails. Yeah.
Okay. Because we only had 2 whole entries in our giveaway, and to keep this fair, best 2 out of 3, or in this case, the heads will be Kraken, the tails will be Mike Dachuk. Hey, he's my first game in the league. Good luck.
That'll make delivery easy.
It'll make delivery easy, that's for sure. So what I want to do is I'm going to get the 3 of you to flip a coin, and to whatever comes up twice, whoever, like 2 heads, then Mike wins, 2 tails, Kraken wins. And this way, everybody's in different locations. We all know. So just tell me whether you get heads or tails and flip.
3, 2, 1. Heads.
Heads.
Tails.
All right. So when we originally recorded this, my kids had come in and said goodnight to me, and I turned my mic off. So you didn't hear me say, "Congratulations, Mike. You have won the coin toss. Best 2 out of 3. Heads, you win. Tails, unfortunately, Kraken, you lost. Reach out to us at dicehosers@gmail.com, Mike, and we'll get this all sorted out for you. Now that my mic is working, we will go back to the ending of our podcast where we basically say goodnight to you all. Have a great one. Bye. Next episode will be what we were planning to do, but we ran into Alessio first, so we're going to be doing the armored platoons. And we apologize because I know you've listened to us talk to Alessio, so this is a very long podcast for you, and we're going to try and cut it short and say adieu.
Au revoir.
Goodbye.
Bonsoir.
See ya.
Yeah, those other guys are waving. You just can't see them.